Welcome everyone. Today we have a June's monthly lecture by Dr. Beauty Thounaojam, who is a senior lecturer at Taylor's Culinary Institute, Taylor's University, Lakeside campus, Malaysia. She holds a PhD in sociology from the Special Center for the Study of Northeast India, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Prior to joining Taylor's University, she taught sociology to undergraduate students at Miranda House and University of Delhi, and her research interests lie in the sociology of food, culture, and identity, with a focus on food practices and culinary traditions. Beauty is in Australia at the moment, and I know it's quite late for her. So, I'm really thankful to her for, doing this today. And thank you so much. Welcome, and please go ahead with your talk. I will hopefully share the screen and it will be visible.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rituparna. I'm speaking from Malaysia, and it's almost 8:30. 8:30 now.
And my bad. I thought you were in Australia. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Probably the next one. Hopefully the next destination. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined us
Just
here.
One second. I think your PPT, it says is an unsupported document, so I'm unable to show it.
I think.
So Dr. Beauty will be talking about Center for Home, locating Ngari in Manipur in Delhi for around 30 minutes. And after that, it will be followed by a Q&A.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rituparna. So let me just sort of start with a little context. Rituparna, you can move on to the next slide, please. Just a little bit context on why I chose to talk about this topic. This paper developed from a very general curiosity and conversations on food, the ways of eating, remembering, and recreating home food, living as a student in Delhi for almost 15 years. And it stemmed from a certain kind of questions on how do we categorize and differentiate home food from other kinds of food? How do you remember it, and how do we recreate it as a part of missing home? And why at all, if it needs to be recreated in certain ways, why do we need to recreate it? What are the negotiations? What are the certain landscape that allows us or do not allow us to recreate home food? And this particular topic is a small part of my PhD, which was particularly looking at consumption and consumption patterns of the Meitei community in Manipur. And as a part of my field work, every conversation sort of on Delhi consumption pattern and food among the Meitei community in general started on leading on certainly one ingredient, or what we call Ngari, which is a fish, a form of fermented fish, without which a dish felt very incomplete. So Ngari, or fermented fish, is one specific food item which constitutes a taste of home for every Meitei migrant that I was having conversation with as a part of my PhD. And the importance of Ngari among the Meiteis was very pronounced and is still very pronounced, with every conversation leading to the number of dishes that uses Ngari as a main ingredient, or simply enjoying a meal alongside it. A flavor enhancer, it is very versatile and it creates a distinctive taste to any dish it is put into. When roasted or steamed, it has a very peculiar smell or taste that travel around the neighborhood. And this revealed the role of Ngari in enjoying a simple everyday meal. However, this smell also became an element of fascination or repugnant to the unfamiliar ones. Equivalently, the smell is also aromatic and appetizing for those who consume it. I'm sure people who have joined us today, some of you were also my respondent in my PhD research, and we know what we're talking about when we say a peculiar smell of the Ngari. The usage and need for Ngari resonated with most of the migrant population belonging to Manipur. particularly among the Meitei migrants, based on my research methodology and particular sample that I use. Thus, Ngari appears to play a central role in most of the narratives of everyday cooking and eating home food. This revelation contributed in exploring the meaning of home food among the Meitei migrants in Delhi by unpacking the social life of Ngari. How does Ngari interact within a space that is culturally distinct from the ethnic communities of India's Northeast? Uh, a descriptive and an in-depth interviews with the Meitei migrants in Delhi suggested new ways of eating ngari in a quote-unquote careful manner. And it is this careful manner that I was really interested in. This regulation and an act of careful manner comes from a surveillance of smell experienced by ngari consumers in a new space. I locate this nuance within a framework of politics of smell and olfactory. The food we have grown up to now, is being seen in a new light, or rather made to be seen so. And this foregrounding of one, which is one always in the background, have created a tension in categorizing who we are or what and how we eat food. Stepping into a migrant space with multiple layers of race, class, and religious concerns, it highlights that food remains a central site of negotiation and being. And it is in this context that Ngari, its smell, and its relation between the consumers become a site of sociological inquiry for me. Thus, addressing how smell is cultural and hence a social and historical phenomenon. Odors are invested in cultural values and employed by societies as a means of and a model for defining and interacting with the world. Uh, One thing is also really interesting, what was really interesting for me while working around Ngari is the fact that a lot of research work have been done on discrimination based on food, politics of food, moving away from home, and at the same time, the nutritional value of Ngari in particular. But what sort of for me, my contribution in researching about Ngari is the fact that over the time, as much as consumers are figuring out the ways to eat Ngari outside of home, Ngari in itself has seen certain kind of changes. And that's the crux for me for this presentation today. And I look at how Ngari in a traditional space at home, how it is sold versus how it is sold in Delhi. How do consumers move along with the Ngari in different contexts? These are the questions that really interest me. So traditionally, I think if you go to the next slides, you will see how Ngari is sold in Manipur in a very open. There is no careful manner. There is no surveillance of the smell, and in a very open space in many markets in Manipur. Since it is consumed daily and a very indispensable ingredient in most dishes, one can observe that Manipur sells ngari by wrapping it around, just a newspaper, just a plastic bag. When brought at home, it is then transferred and stored in baskets made of bamboo or bamboo cane and placed in a very secure place just to avoid being eaten by, cats or um, any form of simple disturbances. But Ngari in Delhi is a very different experience of storing, in fact, because of the smell, because of the kind of temperature that Delhi has, and so on. So, moving on, I think we can have a conversation on in the question rounds around how Ngari is very important as an ingredient in many dishes. But moving on to the statement of the problem, uh, socialization among the students and the migrant community of the Northeast community and shared stories highlighted one of the most significant shared experience, that is discrimination based on food, race, and gender. Stories of eviction from rented apartments, conflicts with neighbors, arguments in the hostel rooms, cooking home food in the hostel rooms, ways of packing and traveling with home food, etc., unfolds the relationship between food, places, and people. And despite the difficulties here, there is still a continuation of eating. Nobody stops eating Ngari because of the discrimination faced or certain kind of negotiations that take place in everyday life. Um, so it does tell, tales of negotiation, reassertion of identity, claiming of space, and recreation of food from home. So, in this way, through these narratives shared by my respondents, it informs that there is a creation of odor characteristic of the food that is consumed by a certain section of the people from India's northeast. As posited by other scholars, the challenge is very varied. And how do we evaluate and negotiate these particular politics of smell has been really studied and talked about by many scholars as well. Uh, we could just go back to the next slides. Yeah. Yes. So if you see in the pictures, this is how Ngari is sold um, in the markets in Imphal. And this two sites that I use to differentiate the difference between how Ngari is sold at home and in Delhi is using um, market sites like Ima Market in Imphal and Safdarjung and Munirka stores as sort of to uh, put up a difference. And in this picture, you will see that Ngari here, when you buy Ngari, you can feel it, you can touch it, you can smell. The customer is very much accessible to the kind of Ngari that is being purchased here. And not just this, according to the vendors, there are different kinds of Ngari that is being sold here. So in the third picture, you'll see different plates. All these plates contain different sizes, different matured Ngari altogether. But in Delhi, when you come across a Ngari packet, it is very much invisible, except for the kind of ingredients that the packet has and the kind of brands that are available today. Other than that, there is no other accessibility or evaluation of what Ngari that is being consumed in other cities that we have today. So we'll see that while the Ngari vendors in Manipur, Safdarjung only sell packaged Ngari or Ngari pickles of different brands, grocery stores in particular sell packaged Ngari, while some restaurants as well sell Ngari packets and other local products for promotion of home brands. There is no market section which can accommodate the same kind of technique or selling Ngari as sold in Manipur. And observations from both the sites serve as an empirical evidence of the innovation and preservation techniques that has come about from sourcing and distributing home produce. So if you could go on to the next slide as well. Yes.
This one, Beauty? This slide, Beauty?
Yes. Politics,
Okay.
yes. Politics of smell and so while I was having field work on Ngari, in 2023 May 3rd, a conflict rised in Manipur, which is still sort of an ongoing conflict between two communities. And what was really interesting about uh, the turn of, sorry, 1 second, please. Yes. What was really interesting about the turn of conversations, of one of the many turns of conversations within this particular conflict, was also the conversation of Ngari and how Ngari became a point of uh, differentiating or having a certain kind of us and the other in the ethnic fight itself. Uh, Ngari became a part of the social media world. And this came with a whole lot of uh, languages, different kinds of innovation or different kinds of language of politics that are being used in terms of eating Ngari. So Twitter posts, Instagram, YouTube comment section, GIF, tote bags, stickers, wallpapers, all of this were used as a site of negotiating identity based on consumption of Ngari. Now, through this act itself, the categorization of Ngari consumers and those who do not consume Ngari as an act of resistance also came about. People from the zoo community, scholars from the zoo community, cookie zoo community have written on the meanings and reclamation of local cuisines based on the developments from the conflict. I will not go much depth into this, but it is a really interesting point of intersection of how, when we talk about politics of eating Ngari, we tend to move away from home to the outside. But at the same time, the development of the May 3rd conflict, uh, through this, we are also seeing a certain pronounced way of talking about politics of eating at the home itself. This is what I wanted to sort of highlight. Now, what makes Ngari so peculiar or so particular to the Meitei communities, based on my research, is that there is a certain skill and ecology and a system of knowledge that surrounds the making or the production of Ngari itself. The processes involved in successfully fermenting nga to a ngari cannot be easily learned or replicated. I make this point because there are many ways in which certain kinds of fermented dishes are recreated and replicated outside of home. So, for example, fermented soya bean, which is uh, known in very different names, kuni, and so on, Hawaii, for example, among the Meitei communities, can be replicated, can be made in Delhi, for example. But it's not very easy to make. It's sort of considered an impossible task to recreate or produce Ngari away from home. It's also by the fact that it is very much the fermentation processes involves a lot of scientific as well as ecological conditions that creates the perfect fermentation process. Um, Perhaps this is why I argue that this is what ties Ngari to the idea of home for the migrant community. And Ngari making season has a very strict process from the month of November to February. That's the Ngari making season. The preliminary phase of Ngari making process begins with the fermentation process of Puntia sophore, which is known as Hawawa in Meitei, and no other fishes is used for the making of fermented fish or ngari. Of course, there are variations of fermented fishes, which is another ways to eat, which is called henta. But in the making of henta, which is a form of fermented fish again, the use of the fishes is very different. It is used from streams, from rivers, and local fishes. But the process of making or selecting ngari, due to mass consumption as well, it comes outside of Manipur. It comes outside of Impel. Uh, and one of the evaluative process criterion of selecting the right kind of fish is that while I was accompanying fermented fish makers, ngari makers, as a part of their process of selecting fish. And they would carefully crush the head of the fish and see how much oil comes out from the head of the fish. That's one of the criterion, they say, to select if the fish is right to be used for the fermentation process, or if the fish at all is right to be used for as a ngari fermentation. The seasoning of the fishes is not just, fermentation of the ngari is not just complete with fermentation of the fish alone. There is a whole various ways of conducting the fermentation with a special pot which is called kharum. It's a it has a particular shape. I do not have the picture of the kharung, but it does have one of the pictures has the face of the kharung, because that's where people usually sell fish in the Ngari market in Imphal. So the kharung itself needs to be seasoned as well. The seasoning process involves application of layers of mustard oil spanning between 12 to 14 days. And if the kharung is not seasoned well, that could have an implication in the ngari itself. So 3 to 6 more months of preservation confirms the decomposition of the bones in the fish, and thus the nga, which is fish, becomes ngari, fermented fish, ready for consumption. Now, when we talk about, if we move on to the next slide, Rituparna, you will see that there is, there has already been a lot of scholars who looked at the migration pattern and the rise of ethnic markets, like how we can relate the migration pattern among youths, migration pattern among certain students who are moving for further studies or for work or for the political instability in a certain region, that has given birth to the lot of migration in Delhi or other metropolitan cities outside of the Northeast region. Uh, What's also really interesting is the formation of the pattern of ethnic markets within certain pockets of New Delhi. For example, Safdarjung now, Munirka, Kishangarh, all of these areas are now, seeing the growth of multiple number of ethnic markets. Now, within this relation of migration, of movement of food items, we're also seeing that what I'm trying to capture is the rise of Ngari market outside of Manipur. Now, with all the kinds of manufactured risk in modern society due to globalization and mass consumption, we're also seeing certain kind of the social life of Ngari changing. Now, from moving off Ngari in a very traditional manner, in a short or a small quantity, we are now seeing packages and forms of enterprises and entrepreneurship and build of new brands of Ngari in the last decade. So you'll see that you can go back to the picture, Rituparna, migration and rise of Ngari market. So you'll see that in the pictures, there are three pictures here given. There is a certain risk of manufactured or fake Ngari that is built around in the market today. So when I went to the Sengmai Ngari, for those who have consumed Ngari, Sengmai Ngari is one of the most popular brands of Ngari that comes from Manipur. And I went to their main store in Sekmai in Manipur. And although I did not get a chance to speak to the owner, I did see a certain kind of awareness pictures that was being put up on the shop. So this is what happens with the new rise of manufactured risk, I would call it, borrowing from Beck's work. We're also seeing certain kind of parallel economy that is happening within the northeastern region as well along with the metropolitan cities. Packages products are increasingly shipped all across the world to meet rising demand from expats and others. The increasing demand is sought to be met by new entrepreneurial ventures who enter the Ngari market and repurpose and repackage them for a more global audience as well. A corresponding increase in fake and copied products, which seeks to capitalize upon more established and well-known brands. But this is also the kind of challenge that is being faced by this old industry in its new avatar, which seeks to market itself beyond its traditional space of consumption. But when I ask my parents or a lot of friends from home, where do they buy Ngari from? People at home still stick to the Imam market where they can actually feel, taste, smell, Ngari before buying it. I think I would sort of agree with this whole notion that the branded or the packaged product is being consumed mostly by the migrant communities. Uh, Now, moving on, eating Ngari in Manipur and in Delhi, stories from the migrant community. There are certain kind of strategies and negotiation that take place um, while eating Ngari. So, celebrations and festivals become a site of cooking and reenacting the home. So, I've experienced this in university spaces or personal homes in Delhi, where celebrations like Cherauba, which is New Year for the Meitei communities, or New Chakoba, for example, all of these celebrations become a chance for a social gathering. And in this gathering, it is not complete without a dish made with money. So stores, restaurants, and cloud kitchens also enable the recreation of home food through these celebrations. Curation and promotion of home meals become a site of cultural exchange at this point, and sites of remembrance for migrants and creation of a home community, which is something that we are able to see with the Sabdarjung as a hub for experiencing different kinds of food. There are also that new ways of eating ngari that are being shared in conversations. How do you eat ngari in the hostel homes or in the hostel rooms, personal kitchens, customizing, kitchen chimneys, new methods of steaming and roasting. By the end of the presentation, I do have few pictures on how people have created new ways of steaming and roasting ngari. My respondents included Ngari vendors in Impal, Ngari vendors in Delhi, student community in Delhi, and Dhaka, who lived in Delhi and moved beyond Delhi and India to sort of see the certain kind of uh, changes or innovativeness that comes with demography, change in geography, and social and cultural context. uh, South India, students in South India, working migrants in Delhi, restaurateurs, and cloud kitchen owners in Delhi have shared different kinds of experiences of eating Mari. And just on a reflection, while going back into these works, I was thinking about how moving to Malaysia right now, I have not really thought about how to make ngari here because it is not there is no careful or surveillance that I experience in Delhi. Here again, even though there is, this is a new cultural context for me, it's really different based on the fact that Malaysia also has multi ethnic communities and the kind of food patterns and food habits here also already includes a lot of fermented items. So, as a person who has experienced the carefulness or surveillance of consuming ngari in Delhi, I find it a little odd that I don't have to be careful about it anymore, which is sort of really an interesting experience for me. To sort of just conclude, I think more conversations will come out during our Q&A. In conclusion, I just want to say that the stories of Ngari as a central character now is shown to have evolved beyond its origin and nature of on Manipur to being a new being within the migrant space in Delhi. It has come to embody certain traits that mark a migrant of prejudice, misunderstandings, negotiations, and eventual claiming of a space as its own. And an inherent aspect of this claiming of space seems to me to be a uniquely migrant thing of maintaining a link, however tenuous and with tenacity, to a home. And this is how I would like to conclude. We can have more Q&As. I think, Ritupana, if you could just go to the slides, I'll show some pictures of how
This
Ngari.
one?
Yes. So these are two pictures that I'm seeing developed, from time to time. Uh, in Imphal, this is how Ngari is being sold by women vendors in Ima market. On the extreme right, which is on the Safdarjung, I use this. I've seen Ngari package being sold like this. But what was really interesting find for me was one shop in Munirka, uh, which was selling Ngari, not just Ngari, not Ngari, but fish or smoked fish in an open space like this. And I found this a very interesting and new ways of um, selling fish in the markets in Delhi, because usually most of the smoked fish or dried fishes comes with a package. But this one was airing it all out, the smoked fishes. So I found it really interesting to contrast the three different kinds of market spaces. Yes, I think that was, and then I think we have one last pictures. Yes. So this is how Ngari, which is steamed in an open grill at home, uh, people have found innovative ways to conceal the fish as well as seal the smell itself. So a lot of people have now found. I think this is one of the most common innovative ways of preparing or roasting ngari in Delhi from conversations where people fold multiple layers of aluminum foil over ngari and just put it um, on the stove so that the smell gets contained and right under, usually helpful if it's right under the you know chimney. So this is how I would sort of conclude. I'm happy to share experiences and hear comments and questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Beauty, for this lovely talk. I think there were some technical disruptions in the beginning, but again, it happens in the digital platform sometimes. But thank you once again for presenting your research. So I'm opening up the floor to questions and any comments, feedbacks that you may have. If you want to, you can unmute yourself and ask Dr. Beauty, or perhaps you can also put it in the chat box. Okay, so maybe before the first question comes from a participant, I have one question to ask you. I wanted to ask you about the relationship that a researcher's positionality, especially in this kind of a research, has with food being a very personal, intimate object. And the second, also, if you could shed more light on how, if you see a change in the making of a food item like the nagadi from a community level to that of an individual one, do you see any changes?
Thank you for the question, Rituparna. I think the within this particular research, where I'm particularly looking at my own community from a researcher's perspective, reflexivity is one of the most important aspects as a part of methodology, and it was really a turn of event for me as well during my research, because I was looking at different kinds of market spaces in the beginning. Um, and I did visit markets in Churachandpur as well. So I was looking at Ukrul market, how fishes or fermented products are being sold. I looked at Ima market, and I was also looking at one of the main markets in Churachandpur. Uh, but in the course of the events, it did change my sampling and population size within my research, because it became a sort of a very sensitive topic to look into. So that did impact the kind of research, and it sort of gives a very limited perspective on how Ngari is being consumed. Of course, during the part of conversations around how Ngari is consumed post the main height of the ethnic violence, there was still a lot of conversations and narratives which are not really put in social media or shared very loudly. For example, how people still continue to consume Ngari across both communities. I grew up in a household where Ngari was made. My mother was an entrepreneur in the beginning of Ngari itself. So our Ngari, my mother's Ngari, I would say, is very famous among her friend circle. And one of her best friends includes to be somebody from the Ukizo community. And during the conflict itself, this was still an exchange of still keeping in touch. At the same time, I would say this relation, as much as I like to reflect on my positionality, it did impact the kind of narratives and perspective that my work has produced. And in terms of innovative ways of consuming Ari, I believe you were saying the second question.
Not just innovations, but also if you see any changes at the level of making, because if you know how to keep pace with changing social structures.
Yes, I think the change does not happen on the ngari making process, but in terms of how it is consumed and preserved, there is a whole lot of change. For example, I think as a part of my own process of keeping preserving ngari in my everyday life, versus how one of the respondent that reminds me, one of the respondent was speaking. About how her grandparents find it ridiculous that we store ngari in fridge or freezer today. But that's something that is unthinkable of, because when we are consuming ngari outside of home, we are thinking at the level of scarcity, level of having a stock of ngari that is as a part of consumption pattern here. Uh, but at home, you're buying Ngari not at a large stock to keep in place. You're buying as much as you would need it for a monthly basis or a weekly basis. So those things, as well as I think the kind of mm, I don't know. There are many innovative ways, I guess, to consume Ngari at this point. But it's also,
Right, right.
Rituparna, about building up a food community. I have introduced Manipuri food across, different spaces, hostel rooms, and so on. Now, when I want to introduce certain home food to others, that include, I need to have a certain kind of disclaimer. But that also implies that I need to be careful about how much my friend who is from a different community can take the taste of Ngari, because it is an acquired taste. So in this way, I think in a very practical manner, we sort of change the recipes or ways of eating Ngari.
Thank you, thank you. Is there any other question?
Hi. Uh, I don't have a question. I just want to share some experience related to Ngari, especially living in Delhi. My name is Akoizam Sunita. I live in Delhi and I run a cloth kitchen in Delhi. Can I go ahead? I think I should
Yes.
get permission first.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Please
thank you.
keep your comments short, and
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
please go ahead.
So this was because from what Beauty said, I remembered an incident during COVID time. I'm from the Meitei community, and it's very clear by now that we just can't do without Ngari in our life. So during COVID time, there was no traveling, to home or even like to Humayunpur. Everything was shut. And the first panic button that hit for us was that the Ngari stock got over. And that was like really, really very scary. And at that time, a friend who was going back home, she informed that she's going back home and she would leave her Ngari with me. And I mean, for me, that was such a emotional moment. And I, during COVID, like, when no one was traveling, I and my husband, we took the risk. We went all the way to Gurgaon to get the Ngari from her. And we could continue for the remaining few more months of lockdown thanks to the Ngari. So I'm just like, reiterating how essential Ngari is in our food. And it's just that everyday food is really, really not possible without Ngari for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also have a short question for Beauty.
Yes.
Uh, from your, like during your research work, so when you talk about the making of Ngari, that not much have changed in terms of how it's made. Uh, Considering that the demand seem to be really high now, so like the traditional way of making ngari takes really long time. It takes months, I think, for it to be ready for consumption. So nowadays, I've been reading about how people are making ngari really fast using some chemicals and all this stuff. So have you come across those things in your research also, like during your research work?
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this point. Um, I did want to venture into this particular manufacturing of ngari at a mass scale because this is quite evident that such kind of changes would occur. Um, but I could not get the permission from certain brands or certain ngari making enterprises for interviews, and I uh, do not have much research work on this area, but I do understand, yes, the mass scale at which ngari is being produced has certain kind of interaction with changes in the traditional to mass consumption level of production.
Thank you, Beauty. And thank you, Sunita, for the question and also for sharing your insight. I think when it comes to food, there's a lot to unpack in respect with memory and also continuity and
Yes.
changes, considering a lot of things that are happening. Recently, there has been a crackdown on Humayun food also in Delhi, and shops have been asked to close. So let's see how that unfolds.
Right.
I would like to once again thank you for delivering this talk and for the audience a very quick snippet about our ad hoc group that we have been continuously trying to focus on. Also, ways of thinking about food sociologically, which are out of the mainstream. And, one of the ways to do this is by bringing in people who are working on diverse food habits in diverse regions of India and also the historically marginalized ones. So, Dr. Beauty, once again, I would like to thank you, especially for taking time out when it is late for you in a different time zone. And for the others, if you want to listen to it again, it will be up on the website of ISS and their YouTube channel. So, thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Uttaparna.
Yeah. Thank you, Beauty.
Thank you to everyone who's joined us as well. Thank you. All right.
Bye, 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 everyone.